have a little bit of a visual as we're going through. So the first thing, and this is kind of talking about yesterday, right? A demand curve, right? Today we're talking about the shifts of demand, right? So demand, again, is this whole entire line right here, or is maybe this whole entire line right here. Okay, our demand, remember, is our overall willingness and ability to buy something. Okay, so whenever we're looking at this over here, all we've done is just graph out our demand, right? And this could be our demand for anything. It could be our demand for Gatorade. It could be our demand for cell phones. It could be our demand for tennis shoes, whatever it may be. The biggest thing to understand here is that we notice that as the price, which I didn't write in over here, that as the price of something increases, right, as the price increases, our quantity is actually going to go down. It's going to decrease. Okay, so moving on. And now quantity demanded, remember, this is from yesterday, right, or for the last time, is just how much would we buy at one price. So maybe if we were right here at point A, right, and maybe this is $1. Well, how many would we buy at $1, right? We might buy one or two, right? And then if we move to point B, that's another quantity demanded because that's at a particular price. Okay, so shifting demand, shifting demand means that the entire curve is going to move, not from just one point to another. We're moving the entire curve. So we're moving from demand curve 1 to demand curve 2. So something has happened here, and what you'll see is that something other than the price of the good has changed. Right? So something other than price has caused this demand curve to shift completely, because whenever this shifts, this is a change in demand, not a change in quantity demanded like we see whenever we move from A to B. So anytime the entire curve moves, whether it's to the right or whether it's to the left, it is a change in demand. Okay, so again, that's basically all this is saying to us. Okay, so now if we take a look at this graph, right, and if we look at A and B, it's the same exact thing, right? So at B, this is a quantity demanded, right? At a price of $2, well, what is the quantity that we want? Well, we want 100, right? At a price of $1, well, what is the quantity in this case we want? Well, we want 200, right? So moving the price, so if we change the price from $1 to $2, the only thing that happens is we move from one point on this demand curve to another point on the same exact demand curve. That is changing our quantity demanded. All right. To say that it shifted our entire demand would mean that it has moved to the left or to the right. In this case, our demand has moved to the left. This is a decrease in demand, by the way, too. Anytime anything, whether it's supply or demand, moves to the left, it's going to be a decrease. If it moves to the right, it's going to be an increase. We never think about these curves as moving up or down. We think about them moving left and right. So always remember that. If it's left, it's a decrease. If it's right, it's an increase. Okay, so things are the determinants of demand, the things that cause our demand to change, right? There are 6 of these, okay? So we have substitutes, expectations, population right here, or the number of buyers, right? It's probably easier to remember as population. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and change this, right? We would say population here, okay? So our population, our taste and preferences, our income, and our complements, okay? You can remember the word septic, right? So we have S-E-P-T-I-C, septic, right? If you can remember that, that makes your life a little bit easier to be able to remember these. Okay, so let's talk about what each and every single one of these things are, right? So again, this is just them listed out. So the first one, income. And this is probably the most obvious one, right? If I win the lottery, right? So take a look at this. If I win the lottery, will I buy more Gatorade? Well, more than likely, yes, right? Or if I win the lottery, would I buy more of something, right? There's something out there on this earth that you would buy more of no matter what the price is. Usually one of the first things that people do whenever they win the lottery is they may buy a new car. Well, normally their demand curve might be right here, but now that there's a new car, well, now or they won the lottery. I'm sorry, they have more income. Now all of a sudden, no matter what the price is, they want more car, right? They want more cars, or maybe they want more shoes, right? On the other side of it, if you lost your job and you don't have hardly any income anymore, well, then your demand curve might shift from right here and it might shift to the left. It would decrease. So you're actually going to buy less stuff than you did before. And again, it doesn't matter what the price of it is in either of these cases, right? If Gatorade costs $1 and I just won the lottery, well, yeah, I'm going to be willing to buy more because now money is not as tight for me anymore. Right? So I'm going to be willing to buy more no matter what the price. But if I lose my job, it's going to be the exact opposite. I'm going to be willing to buy a lot less no matter what the price is because, well, Gatorade's now a luxury. It's not really something I have to have. All right. So the price of other goods, there's two of them. All right. This is where we have our substitutes. This is where we have our complements. Okay. A substitute is something that we can sit there and look at it and say, that's pretty much just as good as something else. So some good examples of this, probably something along the lines of a Dr. Pepper and a Mr. Pibb, or a Coke and a Pepsi, or a Sprite and a 7-Up, right? Those are usually pretty good examples of substitutes, or maybe even an Aquafina water versus a Dasani water, right? We can look at one and say, well, that one's going to be just as good as the other, right? So when the price of a substitute goes up, so let's think about if the price of Aquafina goes up, well, how are we going to react? What's going to happen to our demand for Dasani because of that? Okay, keep in mind, the price of Dasani has never changed, but the price of Aquafina went up, so that's going to cause our demand for Dasani to actually increase and shift to the right because we're going to substitute Dasani for Aquafina. All right, the next one is complements. And let me see if I can move this little guy. No, I can't. Oh, well. The next one is complements. And you can kind of just think to yourself, fill in the blank, peanut butter and jelly, right? Shoes and socks, right? So things that go together, basically, right? And it's two things that we look at them and we say, oh, well, okay, if I'm going to buy one of these, then more than likely I'm going to buy the other one. So if I buy peanut butter, chances are I'm going to buy jelly. So if the price of peanut butter drops, then what would happen to my demand for jelly? It would actually increase because if the price of peanut butter goes down, I'm going to buy more peanut butter. And Lord knows if I buy more peanut butter, then what do I have to do? I have to buy more jelly no matter what the price is. So if the price of a complement goes down, my demand for the other good is actually going to increase. In this case, it would be jelly would be increasing. All right, tastes and preferences. This is basically how do we feel about a product? So for maybe if all of a sudden scientists came out and they said that eating an apple every day will make you live to be 200. Well, then in that case, people's tastes and preferences for apples will change. All of a sudden, our demand for apples will increase if they're guaranteed to make us live longer. Right? On the other side of it, if you've ever gotten sick from eating something before, right? Maybe you got food poisoning or whatever it may be, and you ate something and it made you sick. Well, then in that case, your demand for whatever that is would have decreased. It would have shifted back to the left. And so you're just not going to be very, very happy to eat that product anymore. You don't want to eat that anymore. Matter of fact, you may not ever want to see it again. All right, our expectations. This is based on what do we think the prices of things are going to be like in the future. If I expect prices to go up in the future, my demand today is actually going to increase. So, for example, a couple of years ago, whenever everybody thought gas prices were going to go up in the future, they thought gas prices were going to double in the next day or two. Well, everybody on their way home, they filled up that day because their demand for that product increased. But then if you think about it, what if you expect the prices to fall in the future? Well, in that case, your demand for today is actually going to decrease. It's going to shift back to the left. All right, guys, but that is about it. So if you need help with anything or if there's anything I can do for you, just shoot me a text, shoot me an email, whatever it may be. Hope y'all have a great day.